Welcome to another session of personal finance training. Today we'll be looking at the free course in personal finance. We'll be looking at the Zoom link. I'm going to have a Zoom link attached to this video where you will see a client going through some of the principles. Due to internet issues, she was not able to stay to the end, but we would give everyone the opportunity to look at the first free session. Now, we've gone through some complex calculations, and if it is that while going through the calculations you have any problems or challenges thereby, just write it in the chat or email me at businessconsultingandtraining@gmail.com. I'm sure you're going to enjoy this, and if it is that it's seemingly a little bit too much, just write it in the chat or email me. I mean, we can get through any of the hurdles of the complexities. My intent is not to get you confused, but to diffuse some of the challenges you have in the financial realm. Like, share, subscribe, and watch. Thank you. Just to kind of make you aware, you're gonna maybe need some, calculator and a bit of writing pad or something of the sort. So, yeah, just bear that in mind because I'm gonna kind of ask you questions and just to test where you are in terms of understanding the material. All right. Okay.
All right. I was not expecting that part of it, but okay. Just to be clear, I am not good at math. So let me just put that out there.
Okay.
I'm not good at math.
Okay.
So it might be a little bit of a struggle with calculators, all of these good stuff.
Okay. That's okay. if you're not good at math, is all right. Where I have a plan B to kind of get around it. And whatever you know in terms of the content, we will work with that. And we'll just take it from there, really. So yeah, so we're just gonna try to make the best of it. Okay, so this is our session, free session on personal finance, the basics of investing, and it's presented by myself, as you know who I am, Sean Fuller. Okay, um, so we're kind of gonna try to make the session, in this format. Well, we may not necessarily have this format entirely, but for the most part, we're gonna try to work with this format. Brief introduction for about 10 minutes, promotion for 15 minutes of core content, should last about an hour. And then we have a 30 minutes for question and answer. And then we have 5 minutes for saying goodbye. Okay, so this session is gonna be about 2 hours. We may end a little bit earlier than the 2 hours, but generally it's about that time.
Right. It is Mother's Day and my kids are here. And so we're trying to multitask at the time, at the moment.
Okay.
But just to be clear on the essentials of the meeting and what I'm supposed to be taking away from this.
Okay.
This is about personal finance. So this is supposed to essentially assist me in managing my finances better personally. That's basically what is supposed to happen, because I am like totally awkward. Do you understand?
Okay, so internet connection kind of went down a bit. Okay, let me crack on with the content, and once I've gone through it.
Are you a Jamaican?
Yeah, well, I grew up in Jamaica for most of my life.
Oh, so if every now and again the patois slips in, you understand what I'm saying.
Of course, I would understand what you're saying. I mean, I left Jamaica when I was 25, so it's nearly 20 years ago. So I understand everything.
All right, wonderful. Oh, what? So you're good then.
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, that's all
right. So
I did my first and second degree in Jamaica, and then I did an advanced diploma over here in the UK. So it's not an issue.
Okay.
I think communication should not be a problem. As you mentioned, the main issue we may have is a bit of the calculations, but we will get through it. The intent is not to.
Also, to advise you, I am not on Wi-Fi. I am on data, and so it might fluctuate. It might go in and out because I'm not on Wi-Fi. I still have not sorted out the internet connection, so I'm using data.
Okay, that's fine. We will try to get through the we will try to get through the various hurdles. I will see how best we can manage the challenge. As you know, the technical challenge is also, we have personal finance challenge, we have technical challenge, we have all these various challenges, we have location challenge, but we will get through the various challenges, and the intent is to give you this content so that you can be better equipped to view the world in a better way, a more holistic view of the world, I would say, as much as is possible. Okay, so let's start.
Right.
Okay. I wrote a few books, which is on Amazon, and so the content within this particular course is based on. So it's the first area we're going to look at, and it's 5 different areas, 5 different topics. So we look at the basics of investing, And then we move on from there into understanding the income statement and equity for share investment. That's where we move into stocks and shares, and understanding the dynamics of that. I think in order for one to actually make an investment in any stock, it is important for you to be able to understand the key elements within a balance sheet, the income statement and the balance sheet. So we can talk about that and we see how it moves. And then we move on to other forms of investing, still in and around the income statement and balance sheet, which is preference share and then the normal common share or common stock, which is general buying and selling of shares. Then move on to investing strategies. What are some of the strategies you use, in terms of, market forces, etc. Looking at variables along the lines of uh, growing areas and contracting areas and things of that sort. And then we move on to the basics of personal finance. Here we would look at preparing a budget, so you understand the basics of that. And then we move on to some of the fundamentals in terms of the pillars to build your own personal finance. And there are five core concepts, and you're gonna get an opportunity to have a look at those concepts. As you have 5 fingers, so once you remember them from the 5 fingers, you should be good. And once we do that, then if you so desire, we can move on into using some apps. So, and this is entirely up to you. Um, they're, they will help you in terms of the basics of investing, like buying and selling shares if you so desire. And I would recommend that you do it using the virtual platform for an extended period before investing any money, because it's high risk, but at the same time there's also good reward. So but it is best for you to kind of have an appreciation of the concept and how it works first, and then you can look into making investment if you so desire. And then we also have buying digital currency as well if you so desire to do so. I could walk you through that process. So those are the two things. Now, I'm not, I would say, an investment, a personal finance advisor per se, but what I do is I offer the training. Okay, so I train, my background is accounting and finance. So I offer the training in that regard. All right. So let me tell you a little bit about me. We won't go through these rules because it's just one person. So therefore, some of these rules may not necessarily apply. So we'll just, go back and forth as needs be. So these are the 3 books. The main one that we have here is this one, which is on the left here. This main, it actually has everything. The other 2 over here is more on the basic side. I've had a little bit less content in them, and they are on Amazon Unlimited. If you have access to Kindle Unlimited, you can access these copies without having to pay anything extra. I think that's about $10 a month or something of the sort. So you could read as much as you desire. But if you so desire, you can also buy the copy. It's a digital format. And if you don't like digital copy, you can get a hard copy. I could ship a copy to you if you so desire as well. So you have, several options in terms of acquiring the copy. So my background is I have an MBA in finance, I have a BSc in management. I have a CIMA advanced diploma and a level 3 qualification in teaching. I have over 20 years experience in accounting and finance. I've lived in London, as I've mentioned before to you, over 17 years. So I came here maybe about 25 and been here for a while, for about that amount of time. So I've worked with students in top university here in London. So UCL, the Oxford and the CAS, etc. I've also worked in management accounting for a bit as well. I've done work in business analysis, property investing. I've also done some business consulting, financial advice, from my perspective, just giving my opinion on, particular things, generally for companies, in that regard, from an advice perspective, my professional opinion. My passion is business, finance, and entrepreneurship. My hobbies are I like to play basketball, football, cricket, athletics, travel, and Bible study at times. Okay, so by the end of the session, we should have a better understanding of personal finance. So that's our objective. So how we're going to go about it is, first we're going to look at savings and interest. Then we move on to savings and present value. Then we move on to inflation and present value. Then we move on to investing in long-term instruments, and then investing in long-term instruments in terms of pension. Okay, so these are some of the things, and these are key pillars that anyone who has to do with finance or deal with finance on a day-to-day basis needs to take into account. I'm sure you would have a bank account, and you would then make an investment in the bank account, or save money in a bank account, etc. We're going to talk about that and how that works. And from time to time, you might need to buy things in stores, and then the price change. So that's where we're going to talk about inflation. And then if you maybe want to invest for a long period, thinking about investing for a long, like 10 years, 20 years, etc. We're going to talk about that, and then pension, as we mentioned earlier. Okay, so the first thing we start off with is savings. Now, here I asked the past group what is savings, and they had their own opinion, which is slightly different from what I had in mind. But what do you think savings is? Can you tell me?
Savings is the money that you set aside for, I would want to call it like emergency or anything. Savings is just money that you set aside, money that you don't use.
Okay, so money that you set aside.
And if you put it, because you have different places or different ways of saving. Some people save at home, some save with banking institutions, and you'll get interest on your money when you do banking institutions at home. Whatever you put down is what you're gonna get. So there are different ways of savings, but basically that's saving, putting money away.
Okay, cool. All right, fine. So I love the idea. You made mention. You've actually given several examples, which is quite good. You could save at home, so you could maybe put it in a box somewhere in a secret place at home. You can decide to put it in a financial institution where you will get interest, which is the key concept which we're going to talk about. And you can also, maybe give it to a friend, and then you say, you know what, just keep this for me. Either your partner or your friend,
Right.
and basically save with them. Okay, so here we're going to talk about savings in terms of investing in a particular institution. All right, so we're talking about investing in an institution. So that's the main idea here. Okay, so I would define it in light of this is putting money in a bank to yield a return over years. All right, so here I would define savings and putting money in a bank to yield return over years. So say, for example, Tom puts 1,000 in a bank at the rate of 3% for 3 years. Okay. Now there's a formula that we use in order for us to actually do this. Okay. I know. Okay. That what do you want me? Can I call you Miss Foster, or the first name is Devorine?
Devorine, but you can call me Miss Foster. That's fine.
Okay, Miss Foster. Okay, Miss Foster. Okay, so the formula here, and I know we're going into your territory that of jitter, but I will make sure you are calm. Just be open the mind, be relaxed, be calm, imagine positive things, and let's dive in. So the concepts are, the first one is FV, which is the future value. Future value, we know, like, now is the present, and tomorrow is the future, next week is the future, next month or next year is the future. Are we together? All right, so we know today is the present, and next week, tomorrow, next week, next year, etc., is the future. So that's basically what we're trying to say here. So the main thing here is FV is the future value. So we want to know what the future value of something is. And then PV is the present value. All right. So FV, future value, right? We good with that?
Mm-hmm.
And PV is the present value. Present value is the value today. And FV is the future value, is the value in years to come. We good with that? So now it says FV, which is a future value, is equal to PV, which is the present value. And then we open a bracket. Then we have 1 plus R, and R here is the rate of interest. Some books say R, some books say K. So some books say R and some books say K. But all it is the rate of interest. And we're going to raise it to an exponent of n, which normally is the number of years or periods. Okay? I'm going to show you in the calculator how to do it anyway. It's very, very easy and straightforward. So even though it looks, by the time I do a few of them, you should be like, wow, this is a piece of cake. All right. So let's look at this example. Now, in order for us to do this, we need to look at the key ingredients. One is the present value. Remember, we said the present value is the value today, right? Now, the value today is what, according to the question? According to the question, the value today is
the value today.
We're looking at this bit up here. According to the question, the value today is?
The value today is $1,000.
1,000. That's it. Exactly. Perfect. You got that one. Perfect. So today, the value today is $1,000. What's the rate of interest? What's the rate of interest?
The rate of interest is 3%.
3%. Now, we know that in order for us to
3%.
actually write 3%, we need to divide 3 by 100. Once we divide 3 by 100, we get 0.03, right? Are we good with that? Okay. So 1 plus 0.03. And then we know it's 3 years, so we're going to raise it to 3. Are we good with that?
Right.
Okay. So it's 1,000 outside of the bracket. Open the bracket. 1 plus the interest, which is 0.03. Close the bracket, and we raise it to 3. Okay. Now, you might be saying, oh, what is this? Okay, so what I will do now, I will get a calculator. I will make you, we can actually use the calculator. You see my calculator? Devereen, you see my calculator? Right? You see my calculator, right? Yes? Hello?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry about that. I got a call. I'm using my phone and I got a call.
You got a call. That's fine. All right. So we're gonna, the 103, which is 1.03, which is raised to the 3, okay, gives us this. All right. And then we multiply this by 1,000. And that gives us 1,092.72 or 73.
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
Right, because 7.5. All right, so let's go that over one more time. So that's 1,000.
Okay, let's go. Okay, let's go over one more time. Open bracket. 1.03. All right. We good with that? And then we press this number, this X to the Y here. And then that allows us to raise it by 3 years. And we get this figure. And then we multiply it by the present value, which is 1,000.
1,000.
Yeah, and then we get this.
Okay.
Is that clear?
Yeah, that seems pretty simple, but okay.
Yes, yeah. So
Right on my own.
pardon me?
I said, let me see if I can try it on my own.
Yes, yeah.
0,
1.
3 bracket.
Mm-hmm.
Raise that by 3 and equal to that, and then we times that by
1,000.
I think wait, I did something wrong here. Hold on. Close bracket, raised by 3, and then we times that by the present value, which is 1,000, and voila, there we go.
You got it?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so you see, you're saying that you are not good at math, and you went through that easily. Okay.
I am not. I just tend to follow directives very well. But
All right,
I
fine.
mean that math is
okay, fine. All right, so let's yeah. So remember, we have the 1,000 and 92.73. So let's talk about what's going on here. Now, if you were to do 3% in year 1, that's $30, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if we were to just do 3% 3 times with $30, $30, $30, that's 3 different $30, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's if you had just done 3% individually. But because of the idea of compounding, when we do 3% the first time, we get 30. We add this 30 to the 1,000, and then it will be 3% of 1,030, and that gives us 30.90. So the compounding element after the second year is 90. And then we do it again. So it will be 1,060, 90. And then we multiply it again by 1,000 by 3%, and that gives us 31.83. So we can actually see the compounding element is 1.83. But if we were to even dig deeper,
so this is breaking it down over the 3-year period.
Exactly. See, we are showing you because my book is The Secret, the best kept secret in personal finance. So this is one of the secrets. This is what is actually happening behind the scene. So I'm breaking it down. So now when you see it, you realize the difference between 30 and 30.90 is 0.90. And then the difference between 30.90 and 31.83 is 0.93. So you can actually see the compounding elements as it, as it goes to exponents, as it actually increases over a particular period. And if we keep doing this 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, it will keep going up, increasing as we go along. Are we together?
Right.
All right, now I'm going to show you an easy way of doing it using a table. Okay, now so let me show you how you use this table. So first you need the percentage. What was the percentage? What was the percentage, Devereen? Ms. Foster?
3%.
3%. So we have 3% here. And the amount
Are you
of years?
hearing me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you. And then it's 3
years,
right? So it's this particular figure here, number here, right?
Right.
So if this figure, if we multiply it, so this is 1.093. Let me do a new share screen with a calculator. 1.093 multiplied by 1,000, and that gives us 1,093, right?
Right.
Okay, so if we go back, We had 1,092.73. So basically 1,093 is just slightly rounded up. Okay? Yes? Perfect. Okay.
I got you. Yes, I got you.
Okay, good. All right. Now I want you to, let's try. Let me ask you to try. I know you're having an idea. So let's do number 2. 1,000 for 6 years at 1.5%. Let me see how you go with that one.
6 years at 1.5%. So 1.5.
Just remember the hint is that 1.5 needs to be divided by 100 and added to 1 and then raised to 6 years. All right, just remember that's the principle. Okay, got it?
That can't be right. I don't think so. I have 1,093.44. I don't think that's right though.
1,000 and what?
93.44. I don't think that's right though.
It is correct. 1,093.44.
It is?
Yes.
I was just telling my daughter that there's no way this can be right.
It is right. It is right. So you are much better than you thought. See, it's there.
I know, right?
Yes. Nice. See, that is why it's all you need to do is calm yourself down, open your mind, and with good instructions, following the instructions, it's very easy. All right, let's keep going. Now let's bring it home. Now, because I live in the UK, I'm going to use examples here in the UK, but the principle, once you have the principle, as we have mentioned earlier, you can apply to what's happening in Jamaica or Trinidad or wherever in the world, United States, Japan, Russia, Singapore, wherever. Okay, so it can be, once you have the fundamental principles, you can apply it anywhere. Now, let's say we have a situation. Now, I've done some research, and currently you can get a rate of 0.85 interest per annum in the UK. And in the US, you can get a rate of 0.01%. So 0.85 gives you a return of 1,025.71. Okay? And 0.01 gives you a rate of 1,030. Okay? Are we clear with that? Okay, now let's look at here. So what is important to note though, in terms of the reality, do you think, and this is my question to you, do you think it's good for you to put 1,000 in the bank and get 25.71? for after 3 years. Is that all right? What do you think about that?
All right. So Sean,
Yeah.
I
What was that? Maybe you could write in the chat. Let me just bring up the chat. Let me see. Okay. So we'll press on. She have internet problems. So if we can look at this, we can see that 1025.71 gives well 25.71 is what we would get if we made an investment of 0.85 with a rate of 0.85. So this is just marginal. I mean, a marginal return. Basically, we're looking at 3.721, or let's say 3 yeah, it's just over $7 or so or pounds per year, which is not significant. While here we have, in terms of the US situation, it's only 30 cents. 30 cents is not significant. So we can see here that the current model that is being used, or the rates offered by banking institutions is not significant. And so therefore we can see here that based on the situation here, it's not working for us to actually invest in financial institutions. Okay, so putting your money 1,000 for 3 years and only getting 30 cents, and then putting your money in and only getting 25.71 is basically, minuscule in the grand scheme of things. But we're going to look at another principle here. Okay, so let's look at this other principle. Before we look at that other principle of inflation, we're gonna look at present value, and then then we move to that particular principle. Okay, so present value is, let's look at it. So its present value is today's value of a future sum or a past sum worth today. So for example, John receives 1,000 today. What is it worth 3 years in the past at a rate of 3%? So here, Ms. Foster, he receives 1,000 today. But 3 years ago, what was that 1,000 US dollars? And how we actually look at that, we're actually gonna, here we are actually on the periphery of this concept of inflation. Okay, so we're kind of on the periphery of this concept of inflation. So, but we're not gonna go into it entirely yet, but let's just look at this principle. So 1,000, 3 years ago, this is how the formula would change. So we know initially we had future value is equal to present value, open bracket 1 plus r raised to the n. Now we're gonna rearrange this, and we're gonna make present value the subject of the formula. So its present value is equal to future value divided by 1 plus r raised to the n. So we had before 1,000 today, which is where and we said we're in 3 years at a rate of 3%. So 1,000, we're gonna now divide it by 1.03, the 3% raised to the 3. Do you want to try that, Ms. Foster? Or do you want me to try? You want me to show you how we go about it in the calculator first, and then you try? Let's look at an example in the calculator. So how we go about it, we're gonna basically try to capture the figure. Yeah. Yeah. So basically, we already had it before, which is open bracket 1.03 close bracket, and we raise that to 3, and that's 1.09272. Let's just say we can actually make it 1.093. So let's do that. So 1,000 divided by 1.0922727, and that gives us the 915.14. So 915.14 is basically what we're after. Let's do the new share screen. And so therefore, in light of that, we can see here that that gives us the 915.40. Okay, so that's it. So again, we can actually look at the math of that. So we have 2917. So if we're working backward, when we were working forward, 3% would be 30, and then we have 30.90, etc. Or when we're working the opposite way, the first one is 2917, and then it's 2823 and 2746. All together, we add them up, is 84.86. But let's kind of look at it even further. So we see technically 1,000 today is worth 3 years ago 915.14. So technically there was an erosion of 84.86. So 84.86 is somewhat lost over that period for us to have gotten to in real terms. Though we receive 1,000, it's technically not 1,000, wasn't 1,000 3 years ago. Okay, and the rate of erosion was 29.17, 28.23, 27.46. So we can almost see that there's like $1 or so drop every single time there is there's a calculation here. So there's a drop of $1, a drop again, $1, etc. Now, if we were to look at the difference between that, it's 29.17 minus 28.23. Difference here is 0.94. And then we have 28.83 minus 27.46, and that gives us 1.37. So we can see here that there's a difference between that. And that actually is, kind of giving us the idea of the compounding element, but in inverse. So I think before we had 0.90 being the difference. Now here we have 0.94, and then there's a even greater rate of erosion at 1.37. For the second, finding the difference between the 28.23 and the 27.46. Now we can actually use a formula as well to demonstrate this. So let's say we had the 3%. So 3% and 3 years is 0.9151. So again, we can do a new share screen. Okay, so let's look at the figure. We have 3, 0. We have this actual one is a 0.9151. 0.9151. Okay, so 0.9151, and we can then multiply that by 1,000, and that's also giving us the 915 We had 915.14, but this one is 915.1. This is the marginal difference between the two. Okay, so let's go back to okay, so we can see. So we have 915.14 as we had here, 915.14. But here, when we do it using the formula, we get 915.10, which is slightly different marginally, but you know, it's a marginal difference there. Okay. Now we can practice another example. We can maybe practice the middle one. We can actually let's use the formula sheet and practice the first one. So the first one is 1,000 4 years at 5%. So 1,000 4 years at 5%. And so let's have a new share screen. Actually, no, 1,000 4% and 1,000 4 years and at 5%. Let's use the actual table. Let's kind of mix it up a bit. 4%, 5% and 4 years. 5% and 4 years is 0.8277. So new share screen. Zero point eight. Let's see what the figure was. 8227. 227. And then we can multiply that by 1,000. So that's 822.70. 822.70. Okay. So we can double check it. Let's double check that. It's 822.71. So we know we are correct. So if we use the table, we're getting a similar answer anyway. Let's just do a new share screen. So yeah, so we're getting a similar answer of 822.71. We had 822.70. So it's marginal. It's a marginal difference because using the table, we kind of have rounding down or rounding up disparity, but it's marginal. But we're in and around the same figure. Okay, so let's press on. You can practice the others if you so desire. You can write them down and practice in your own time and just have a go. Okay, now let's have a look at this particular situation here. Let's say we have, if we were to take into consideration the concept of inflation in light of what we mentioned earlier. So inflation generally in maybe developed countries, we would say for the most part, is 2%. So for the most part, inflation is 2% in developed countries. Now, so if we were to adjust this figure of 0.85 by 2%, let's see what would happen. Okay, so we need to, in real terms, if we were to invest 1,000, moving forward, what would it actually be in real terms, taking into account the rate of inflation? Okay, because we didn't take that into account before. So let's have a look at that. I'm gonna have to do a new share screen. Okay. So we had 0.85, and then we were to minus, we can minus the rate of inflation of 2%. So we know now that basically there is 1 point, there's an inverse of erosion of 1.15. We divide this by 1,000, by, sorry, 100, because once it's percentage, you need to divide it by 100. So it's 0.0115. And then we need to add 1 to it, because we know, so, okay, sorry, actually add -2. We were supposed to do the inverse, so we -2. Okay, so, all right, so with this figure, we're actually gonna try to raise it to 3. And that's negative 0.34. Now to move, we're gonna move the negative, multiply by 1, multiply by -1, is okay, we're having a bit of difficulty here. Okay, so 1 point, let's use 4 decimal places, 1.034, let's say 49. 1.0349. 1.0349, we're going to write that down. So 1,000 divided by 1.034. We could say 8, 9, 8. Is 966.27 or 28. Okay. So 966.27 or 28. Let's do a new share screen. We're going to have a slightly different figure here. We have 966.55. So basically, if we adjust it in real terms, the 1,025 is not actually 1,025. Moving forward is actually 966.55. So it's this figure. So moving forward, it looks like you've made 25, but in real terms, you've not made 25. You've actually, the money you have in real terms is actually 96.55, and you've actually lost 33.45 if you were to use this principle, if you take into account the rate of inflation. And using the US situation, if we were to make the adjustment for the rate of inflation, you would actually have 942.61 having a loss of 57.39. Okay, so again, if you were to take into that the rate of inflation into account. So in real terms, if you're getting a rate of return that is far less than the 2%, and here we have 0.85, which is far less than 2%, and 0.01, which is far less than 2%, you are more likely to lose money by investing in any financial institution over that particular period. Now we can move on to considering inflation. Let's look at this inflation scenario here. First of all, let's define what's inflation. Inflation is the rise in price of goods over time. Say, for example, a loaf of bread was 50 cents really in 2013, and now in 2015 it's $1.20. What's the formula for this? It's new. How we calculate the rate of inflation would be the new. Here, the new is 120. We put the 120 here. The old is 0.50, which is 50 cents. We put it here. And then the old is 0.50 cents. So new minus old divided by old multiplied by 100. So 1.20 minus 0.50 multiplied by 100, and that's 140%, which is on average 70% per annum. Okay, so if we were to divide 140 into 2, we know that at least every year the price of bread went up by 70% technically. Okay, yeah, because it's also a 2-year period. So even though generally governments want the rate of inflation to be about 2%, it can in some instances, based on the nature of the product, be far greater. And in this instance, it's 140% over 2 years. And in 1 year, technically, we can say that it was 70%. So this is breaking all the barriers in terms of, or breaking the benchmark rate of inflation in light of the government's requirement. So if we were to break it down even further, so we have the 1.20, 0.50 being the first, and we have 1.20 being the next. So here we can see technically 70% being considered here. So that gives us the 140. Again, it's the new minus the old divided by the old and multiplied by 100. Okay, so we can observe that even further. Now let's have a look at this example. So here we have the price of bread is $1.50 in 2020, but in 2015 it was 0.45. Let's see how the price of bread has changed over the period. So we can do a new share screen. And let's take a calculator and observe the principle here. So 1.20 minus 0.45 divided by 0.45. So that's 166 multiplied by 100. It's 166%. Okay, we have a slight difference here. Let's go again. So let's make sure we get our figures. Let's make sure we have our figures. Our figures is 150 is 0.45 on 150. Let's go again because we have a slight difference. So 1.50 minus 0.45 divided by 0.45. Okay, yes, now we're in the same area. Multiply by 100, that's 233%. Okay, so yes. So we can see here the rate of inflation on this from 2015 until now, that's 15 years, is 233%. If we were to divide that by 15, we would see that every year it actually rose by about 5.50 on nearly 16%. So the increase in the price here is far greater than the 2%. So on average about 15% or nearly 16% per annum, which is quite significant. So we need to take this into account because we need to take this into account in terms of wages. We need to take this into account in terms of the price of goods and in terms of doing business, because inflation is a key factor. And if you also even take into account, if you're making an investment, where the cost of that investment, there in accounting and business, we consider the principle of the WACC. Well, we're not going to go into that here. So which is the weighted average cost of capital. So we're not going to go into that here, but that's another principle we need to take into account. If you're doing any business and the rate of return on it is far lower than that which you need to pay back in terms of the bank for the money borrowed, then it's not meaningful to actually move forward with such an investment. So you need to make sure whatever investment you are doing, the return is far greater than the rate of inflation and also the rate of return required for that particular investment. Okay. Now we can move forward into looking at government papers or long-term instruments in that regard. Okay, so investing in government papers, or we would say bonds in some instances, or gilts in the UK scenario here. So if we're investing in these instruments, we're investing with the government for many years. A set figure, and then we want to get a return over a long period of time. So let's say we have this example. Tom wants to receive 10,000 in return from the government in 30 years. How much should he give the government to get 10,000 at a rate of 5%? So we're going to use the future value concept or the present value concept. So we're going to work back way to see what we need to start up with if we're going to use an internal, using the principle of compounding, actually get to a particular figure. So if you were to get 10,000 in 30 years, using this particular principle, using the present value formula, 1.05, and if we raise that to the 30, so basically we can actually use, go back in time and use a table, present value table. So, we only have 15 years, so we are not able to use the table. So we have to use the formula, unfortunately. Okay, so let's look at the formula. So the main things we need to look at is 5% and it's 30 years. And then it's 10,000. So let's look at the formula using this particular. So 1.05 raised to the 30 is 4.32 point. So So 4.32, let's say 4.3219, 4.3219. So let's divide that by 10 grand. 4.3219. Use 5 decimal places. And so that is 2,313.77. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so 2,313.77, which is exactly that. So we can see here, if we work back, we would need to make an investment of 2,313.77 in order for us to actually get 10,000 in 30 years. Now, 30 years is a long period. So, I mean, some people just live for 30 years or even less. So that's quite a long period. In some instances, people may need to actually pass on this investment to, family members, will it on to children, etc. But the main idea is, if you were to make an investment for 30 years, you would need to buy the instrument for about 2,000 with a rate of return of 5%. For 30 years, that's you just need you make an investment of 2,313.77. Okay. Okay, so now let's have a look at an instrument where we have another principle. We have the principle of a coupon. Now, a coupon is where we have a fixed rate of return per annum, and then we have the other principle of the yield to maturity. So the yield to maturity is basically, if you hold the instrument for the end of it, up to the end of its term, you would get a particular rate of return. Okay, so you get a yearly rate of return in addition to a rate of return for holding the instrument until its mature period, until at the time it matures. Now, before I actually look at this question, I'm just going to do a basic principle. Okay. All right. So let's do, I'm gonna, okay. I'm gonna use Excel because Excel allows us to, we'll be able to do the calculation much better. Okay. Okay, so let's look at the basic concept. So when we are looking at this concept, we first of all need to look at the coupon. And then we have the yield to maturity. Okay, so let's just say we are investing 1,000 for 5 years. So the investment is 1,000, and the period is say 5 years. Let's say the rate of interest is like, before I do this, let's say the rate of interest, the coupon rate of interest is 3%. It's a fair amount. And the yield to maturity is 2%. These are the key rates that relate to these figures. Okay. So we have the period. So you have year one. That's the year. Year. Okay. All right. So let's mess around. Let's mess around with with the figure so we can understand. So 1,000 times 0.03 is a 30. And we can do that, if we do that 5 times, okay? So we know the investment is, the initial investment is 30. And so therefore, the total received from a coupon payment over the period is 150. So we can see here, coupon payment being 150. And then we have the principle of the yield to maturity. Now, we know the formula for yield to maturity. So it's 1,000. So actually it's 1.002, and we raise that to 5. Okay. That basically is going to give us from what we need to find out based on the actual investment, which is 1,000. Yes, they're asking me if I'm multiplying it. Yes. So therefore, and if we were to basically just trying to find a difference, let's just do the difference so we can see exactly what happened. So is this minus the 1,000, and that's where we can see here that we got a return under this scenario of 104. So if we were to find the total return, over the period under 1,000 would be this plus this, and that's 254. So technically over the period, the total at the end let's say the total position actually is 1,254 as the total position at the end. Okay, that's it. Really. So, which is, yeah. So the main things we need to take into account, coupon is you get 30 every all the various periods. So 30, 30, 30, 30. The yield to maturity is basically an aggregate return. And here the yield to maturity works out to be 104. And the total, if we were to add these two, the total return on the investment, basically the total return is this figure, and then the yield to mature, the total overall situation in addition to the principal will be 1,254.081. Good. I think that demonstrates the principle. All right, let's look at this investment that we had. Let's go back to the other one. So bearing in mind all of those principles. Here, we want to receive 10,000, and there's 30 years. And basically, it's if we're getting a coupon payment of 7.7, and we're basically trying to start off with a rate of we're starting off with 3,000, you know, in order for us to kind of, yeah. So we're gonna basically work from that. Okay, so with 3,000, okay, so 3,000, 7.7, and 0.125. These are the rates. Okay, let me copy this. It's not being shown because it's in a and we said the coupon payment is 7.7. The initial investment is 3,000. So this 3,000 multiplied by 0.077, and that gives us 231. And the amount of years is 30. So therefore, this times 30, it gives us 69. All right, so our key figures so far is this initial investment of that, the total for the various periods, which is this, and then we need to find the yield to maturity. So the yield to maturity, as we know, it would be this 30, it would be that 3,000, and then 1.00125 raised to the raised to the 30, and multiply. It always says that we need to multiply. And that's 3,000. Okay. So if we were to add these figures up, this plus this, okay. So the rate of return with the coupon payment, as well as the yield to maturity, would gives us 10,044 basically in interest. Altogether, if we were to add that all together, the position, let me actually, our position would be this plus, yeah. So this is just the interest. Okay. Yeah, and basically, as we had above, total as your position at the end. Okay. So the 10,044, 56, 31. Let's have a look. Yeah, so 10,044, 56 is there. All right, so basically the return on the investment would be this. So he would receive 10,000 in terms of return over that period. Let's say 10,044.56 over the period, but you would need to make an investment of 3,000 in order to get that return. Altogether, his financial position would be 13,000. You know, his wealth at that particular period. Okay, so yeah, and that's a healthy return. And the main thing is this return of 7.7 every year gives a return that is far greater than the rate of inflation, which is 2%. 2%. So this is like 5.7% over the rate of inflation every year, you know, for the 30-year period. So that is quite good. Okay, so we've done that. So here we realize it's 2,313, and then we have 7,000, and that basically gives us the same. So the figure is 3,000, 3,000, 3,011, 3,114.56. 3,114.56. Let's go. It's 3,001. That's that particular figure. And then it's 6,930. And we said that this is let's go back to 3,000. $6,009. So that's 10,044.56, as we mentioned earlier. Okay, so that's basically it's using that particular principle here. And we can just observe make sure. Okay, so here we can see we have some information from Bloomberg here. We're just gonna pick out the key bits. here, the 30-year instrument in the US, the 30-year instrument, the coupon payment is 1.25 and the yield to maturity is 1.38. So altogether, we see that's like nearly 2.5% altogether, which is on the marginal side in terms of investment and the 2% rate of return. But the UK, we have the gilt at 4.75 for 10-year and the yield to maturity of 0.17. So yeah, it's a marginal on the yield to maturity, but well above the 2% for the coupon payment, which is quite good. So a healthy one there. In terms of the UK, we can, if we were to look at the principal here, you would need to buy the instrument for about 29, and with the US, you need to buy it for about 34. But we can actually drill down into this figure by using the yield to maturity and the coupon payment, and you can make it. You can actually do the calculations yourself to kind of see how it would work out. I think due to time, we may not be able to do it in this instance, but if it is that you so desire, you can actually drop me a line and we could do a calculation and produce it. But because of the time factor, we won't do that just right now. Okay, let's press on. Now we're looking at the principle here of pension. So pension is investing in a portfolio with the hope to receive a set amount in years to come. So let's look at the principle here. James wants to retire at the age of 65 and he is now 25. How much does he need to save to get a pension pot of approximately 1 million at a rate of 4%? Okay, so how does he do this? Okay, so the main things here in this formula is the future value of an annuity. And basically we want to find our objective is to basically find out how much is it per month, okay, which is the actual payment per annum, which then gives us, we can then divide it and find it per month. And the main principle here is the future value of an annuity is equal to the present, technically it is the present value somewhat of the annuity, which, and then we have 1 plus k raised to the n in brackets, and then we need to minus 1, and then we divide that by k, which is the rate of return. Now, let's look at this particular example here. The key things we need to take into account is this. We need 4% and the amount of years. It says 65 and it's 25, so therefore we know that that's 40 years. So let's look at a new share screen. Okay. So, clear it up. So let's go in the middle first, which is what's in the bracket. So we have 1.04, and we raise that to 30. Is 31.2433. If we minus 1 from that, yeah, and then when we minus 1 from that, we need to divide that by 0.04, divided by 0.0. That's 56. So there's something slightly off there. We need to get 9503. So we have to go again, sometimes calculations. So let's go again, 1.04. And we need to raise that to 30 is that. Then we minus 1 is 2.24. And we divide that by 0.04. There's something not quite. Okay, let's try again. 1 bracket 1.04 close bracket raise to 40. Okay, we minus 1. It's 3.80. And then we divide this by 0.04. That is correct. So I'm not quite sure what was the problem before, but yeah. But we get, it's supposed to be 9503. And with this 9503, we can then divide this by 1,000,000. Okay, so approximately if we round it to 2 decimal places. So 1,000,000, because we want the pension pot size should be 1,000,000, divided by 95.03, and that gives us 10,522.99. And then if we divide that by 12, that's 876.91. So you need to put aside 876.91 in order for you to actually get to a pot size of 1,000,000 in 40 years. Significant sum, but that's a reasonable figure, you know, for most, you know, to get to. All right, so yeah, so that's the main principle here. Okay. Okay, now you can actually use a table to demonstrate what we just done. We had 4%, and we had 40, and we have 9.026, or 95.3 if we do 2 decimal places. And so therefore we'd get exactly the same thing as we had earlier. Okay. We know here in the UK, the lifetime allowance is 1,055,000. Once you hit this figure, you will not be taxed up to this point. Anything above that, you will be taxed additionally. The minimum that the government would like us here in the UK to have, you can maybe find your information based on the country you live in. But here in the UK, it's 250,000 is the minimum. And so if we were to use some calculation, let's just mess around. So 2% for 25 years, and we're going to use a table this time. So 2% and 25 years is 32.30. So 32.30, yep. So we realize that, we divide it, we get 7,805.18, and we divide that by 12. So we get 650.43 per annum. So yes, you're able to see that you need to put aside £650 per annum in order for you to have a pension pot size of 250,000 if you only have 25 years in order for you to do so. And that's it. Now we can conclude. So we have some practice questions here. You can have a look at them. You process them. If Tom invests 2,000 today, in 3 years, how much will Tom have at a rate of 4%? So 4%, 3 years, and 2,000. 4%, 3 years, and 2,000. We can have, let's do a share screen using Excel. So it's 3%. Okay, 4 years. So the investment. So this multiplied by open bracket 1.003 close bracket. That's 2051.12. Let's see. So 2000. So technically, if we were to find a difference, this minus this, we basically would have a return of 251. Okay, but this is the key figure that we should have overall. So 2151.08. Let's look and see. So here, so this is 4% in 3 years. So it's 2,249.73. 2,249.73. So 4% and 3 years. Let me just see. 4% in 3 years. So I kind of had the wrong, so it's actually 4% here, 4% here, and it's 3 years there. So I had it slightly mixed up. So therefore I have to change it here. So that's 4% here, that's 3 years. And therefore it's 2249.72. And so therefore new, yeah, so 2249.72. Yeah. 3 years. 4%. Yeah, good. All right, so It's 5,000 3 years ago at a rate of 2%. Okay, so 2% and 3 years and 5,000. 2%, 3 years, 5,000. Let's go and use share screen. 5,000. Make sure. Um, 3 years and 2%. 3 years and 2%. Three years, 2%. So how we would do this now is a 5,000 divided by, open bracket, 1.02, and we raise that to 3, and that's 4,711.61. 4,711.61, which is correct. So James wants to get 50,000 by buying a government instrument for 30 years at a rate of 4%. How much should he invest today? So 50,000 he wants, and his rate is 4% in 30 years. So 50,000, 30 years, 4%. Let's go and share screen. 4%. 30 years. Okay, so $1.04, 30. This is 15, 415.93. Let's see. 415.93. And then we have this one. Mike wants a pension of 1,500,000. Approximately, what's the approximately what's the rate of 5% per annum in 40 years? Yeah. So what does he need to put aside? Technically, I mean, it's not fully expressed the way I'd like, but what does he need to put aside? So he basically sorry. Okay. He wants so Mike wants a pension of 1.5 million approximately. If the rate is 5% per annum in 40 years, how much does he need to? How much does he need to pay per month, really? Okay. Okay, so we got at 1.5 million, 5%, 40 years. Okay, let's look at new share screen. So 1.5 million. Just make sure I remember. 40 years and 5%. Got all the figures correct. All right, so this one is a little bit more on the tricky side. So 1.05, and we're gonna raise this to 40. And then we minus 1. And then we divide that by 1.0. No, divided by 0.05. This is divided by the K. It's 120. And then we have 1.5 divided by 1,034.77. Let's just check. Yes, 1,034.76. Exactly what we need. Okay, so this ends the session. You know, we started off with one of our clients, and you know, she had a bit of challenge with internet. So I'm just gonna record this and put it on YouTube so that she can pick it up at a later date. But this is the main idea of looking at the basics of personal finance. And if you so desire to get some additional training on these principles, do contact me, businessconsultingandtraining@gmail.com, and we can talk further. And you know, we can arrange to do additional session. The other sessions are paid session, where we're going to go into investing in stocks and how to read financial statements and what are some other investment options. And then we move on to preparing budgets. Or we look at investing strategies, and then we look at preparing a budget. And then, you know, there are some other apps if you so desire to actually make some investments. But again, it's up to you in terms of the risk you take, because I mean, I am not a financial advisor, but I'm an accountant who has the tools theoretically to be able to teach the principles. And then once you have those principles, then you can make your own financial decision that's best suits you. Okay, so that's it. Thank you for the time we've shared. And as I said before, please remember, visit Amazon and look for this copy, The Best Kept Secret, or Secrets of Personal Finance, by myself. There are 3 different copies, pretty much similar content, and you can get it in a digital format. And if you need hard copies, just give me an email at businessconsultingandtraining@gmail.com, and we can talk further. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope that you were able to follow. But if you're not able to follow, you can maybe email me and we can talk further, or you can maybe write a comment in the chat, share a comment about how you feel about the content. Thanks, like, share, subscribe. Thank you.